Welcome to the Ballard Proud podcast. It seems everyone can agree that Ballard is a fantastic school district, and when asked why, the answer always includes some reference to, well, it's people and relationships. So I'm on a mission to get to know the people of Ballard and find out why everyone is so proud to be part of this district. I'm Danny Trimble, Superintendent for the Ballard District, and I'd love for you to come along with me on this journey to uncover what it means to be Ballard Proud. Welcome to this edition of the Ballard Proud podcast. Our guest today is Chris Deason, our high school principal. Mr. Deason has been part of the Ballard District for quite some time and in a few different positions. And while this is true, and probably a lot of you know that background, I'm so glad he said yes to this podcast today for those of us who haven't been around the district for a while. So, Chris, thank you for taking time to visit.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So for those who either have known a long time and maybe forgotten, or those of us who are new to you, how do you come to be part of Ballard?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. So I grew up in Polk City, and I went to Northwest Missouri State and then came back home, and I actually graduated from North Polk and went back there and started teaching there. And coaching basketball and baseball and football and everything else. And as my time there kind of passed along, I really got to know Coach Schaefer really well, who was at Ballard. He was the head boys basketball coach, then later became the principal. But he would just keep, he was kind of in my ear all the time, like saying, "Hey, you ready to come to Ballard? You ready to come to Ballard?" And I would say, "Well, Larry, there has to be a job opening for that to happen. You can't just come and not have a job." And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well," then he retired and resigned his basketball position. He said, "You ready to come to Ballard?" And I said, "Well, Larry, there's no teaching position." And then, like a month or two later, a social studies teacher resigned. And so I applied for the position. He brought me up. Just a very, very different interview. Never experienced anything like it. We came in, we toured the building, and it was just the two, him and his assistant principal and myself in a room, and that was the interview. And there was no committee back then or anything like that. And it was a little bit strange. I went back and a good friend of mine said, "Well, how'd it go?" I said, "I have no idea." But then I got a call a few days later. They offered me the position. And that would have been in the I started here in the fall of 1999, teaching 7th grade social studies and coaching basketball.
Nice. 1999. And then what? That wasn't where you stayed at Ballard.
No. So then I did that for about 6 years. I did that 7th grade social studies position for about 6 years. I really enjoyed it. And then we had a high school teacher resign that was teaching American history. And I remember Mr. Rocca coming to me and saying, "Hey, is this something you're interested in putting in a transfer for? It's going to be a matter of time here before we split into two buildings. And if you're still coaching basketball, you would get to be with the high schoolers." And I was kind of ready for a change anyway. And American history had kind of always been my wheelhouse. So I jumped at the opportunity, and I just loved doing that. I really did. Did that for several years. So they eventually made the switch to where it was sophomores taking American history. And just really enjoyed that. And then we split, actually for a few years there, we split our American history up into two sections. And so I taught like 1865 to present, and really enjoyed that. And then that all changed one summer. We had an assistant principal who was also our activities director, it was the end of July. I was coming home from a camp up in Waverly, and I was driving home, and Mr. Ronka called me again, and he said, "Hey, our assistant principal just resigned. Would you have any interest in coming out of the classroom?" And he said, "We're going to interview. Didn't know if you'd want to be part of that." I said, "Let me think about it." And then I came in, I met with him, met with the superintendent, and went through the interview process, and was fortunate enough to get that position. And then 3 years ago, Mr. Ronker retired, and threw my hat in the ring for the principal position, and interviewed, went through the whole process, and was fortunate enough to get hired into my current position.
Nice. So I've gotten to know you, I'd say a little, maybe a little more than a little, since coming on board. We work together quite a bit, but I am looking forward to these next few questions because there are some things I don't know about you yet.
Okay.
What's on your playlist?
Ooh. It's primarily country. So I've always been a pretty mainstream country person. And then the last several years, my son has kind of turned me towards a newer, different type of country. Like, it's very popular now, but like Zach Bryan, just, I mean, I can't, Morgan Wallen, a lot of those guys, Parker McCollum, several of those artists. And I'll branch a little bit outside of that, but I just have on my playlist, I just have a thing. It's a title. It's just called Good Country. And every time I hear a song I like, I just put it on that playlist.
All right. How about streaming?
Oh, okay. So I am pretty much a YouTube watcher. I watch very little regular TV. Basically, sports are the only thing I would watch on regular TV. I have several channels that I watch regularly, probably like a dozen of them that I try and keep tabs on. It's hard to watch them because, you're busy like everybody else, so it's hard to watch. But so I grew up, my dad was a mechanic, and then became an electrician and a pipe steam fitter. And so having that mechanic background, I'm really into cars. And so there's a channel called Goon Squad where these two 20-something kids from Chattanooga, Tennessee, rebuild cars all the time. And I just love watching that. And then anything where we're building houses, constructing cabins, like all that kind of stuff. Like I watch a ton of that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, a lot of, and then as far as like movies and things like that, Netflix wise, I just finished Quarterback. And then I watched Full Swing, the golf one, and like just anything that might have something to do with sports. I enjoy that kind of stuff.
All right. So school administrators are busy people, and there's not always a lot of time for other things, but what are your other things when you're not thinking about or working on school?
So I love to spend time at Lake of the Ozarks. That's one of my favorite things to do. My folks bought a house down there in 1992. Back when it was unbelievably cheap and it wasn't as crowded as it is now. But my mom has held on to the house. And so, I can go down there and just kind of hang out and put the boat in the water and just, kind of watch the stress melt away. So that's something that I really, really like doing. I'm not a huge like golfer or anything like that, but I love to build things. Like I think during COVID, during that spring when we didn't return to school and we were online, I think I built all new end tables and coffee tables for the basement and rebuilt my shop and just tons of stuff. I just like construction projects and and doing that kind of stuff. Everybody gives me a hard time because one of my hobbies is literally cleaning cars. And so I love to clean our cars and detail them and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Two thoughts there. One, I just paid somebody to detail my car. Had I only known.
Had you known.
And
That's right.
two, that was quite a peek behind the curtains for us into the world of Chris Deason. Thank you. Last
Yeah.
question. When you hear the phrase Ballard Proud, what things come to mind?
Oh, it's a lot of things. Gosh, I have I mean, dating back to when I first started here, I was just blown away by the support. I'll never forget, and I tell the story, like one of the first basketball games that I coached here, it was a home game on a Tuesday night, and we were hosting PCM, and both teams were below 500, and it wasn't exactly a marquee matchup, or anything, but we had on a Tuesday night hosting a team that was below 500, and it was standing room only, and people were standing in the corners of the gym, and we won the game in double overtime, and I just could not believe how many people were there, the support we had. And I just remember, telling my wife and telling our assistant coaches, and like, this place is incredible. Like, I've never felt this kind of support. And then, that's just kept going through the years. It's just the number of people, like just last night at the band concert, just the number of people that come up to you and just want to visit and just thank you for what you're doing, and they're supportive, and just, I just appreciate your willingness to visit, and just, things that, I don't think anything of, but they find that really supportive. And I just love that. I love that community feel, that atmosphere, whether it's during our homecoming tailgate or whether it's whatever the situation, just the people in our community, and how they support our kids and the things that we do here at school.
Nice. Well, Mr. Deason, thank you for that nice recap about what Ballard means to you, and of course, letting us know more about you. We appreciate you taking time to visit today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ballard Proud. There's more to come as we dive into what it means to be Ballard Proud. Until next time, I'm Superintendent Danny Trimble, and I hope you have a great day.